A single dad and his 6-year-old daughter found a dying stranger bleeding in the Oregon wilderness. What happened next didn't just save a life. It created a beautiful chaos no one could have predicted. Before we continue, tell us where in the world you're tuning in from. We love knowing how far our stories travel. Daddy, what's that sound? 6-year-old Ariana's voice cut through the forest's morning symphony. She stopped mid-skip on the pine needle path, her small hand tightening around her father's calloused fingers. The purple wildflowers she'd been swinging against her leggings went still. Caleb Riley froze, every protective instinct firing at once. 20 years as an electrician had taught him how to recognize danger in unexpected sounds, the wrong hum from a wire, the pop before a surge. But this wasn't electrical. This was human help. Somebody, please. The voice was weak, female, and coming from somewhere off the main trail. Caleb's mind raced. None of the possibilities good. They were 40 minutes into the Cascade foothills, at least 3 miles from the parking area. Stay right next to me, Ari. Hold my hand tight. Is someone hurt, Daddy? She whispered, pressing against his leg. Maybe, sweetheart. We're going to check. They pushed through the ferns, following the faint, broken calls. 30 feet off the trail, Caleb saw her, a young woman slumped against an ancient cedar, pressing a burgundy hiking jacket against her left shoulder. Blood had soaked through the fabric, forming a dark stain that made Caleb's stomach clench. Her blonde hair was tangled with leaves and dirt, and one hiking boot was twisted at an angle that screamed broken or badly sprained. Oh, thank God, she gasped, green eyes filling with tears. I've been calling for over an hour. I thought no one would come this way today. Caleb dropped to one knee beside her, automatically positioning himself between her and Ariana. I'm Caleb. This is my daughter, Ariana. What happened, Tessa? She managed, wincing as she shifted. Tessa Quinn. There were 2 men at my campsite. They were going through my camera equipment when I came back from photographing birds. When I confronted them, one shoved me. I fell down the embankment. Don't worry, lady, Ariana piped up from behind her father, still staying close. My daddy fixes everything. He even fixed our neighbor's car once, and he's not even a car fixer. Despite the pain, Tessa's lips twitched into a tiny smile. That's good to know. Caleb gently moved the blood-soaked jacket. The gash was deep, probably from a broken branch, but clean. It definitely needed stitches, but the bleeding had slowed. This looks worse than it is, but we need to get you help. Can you walk? Tessa tried shifting her weight and cried out, my ankle. I think it's broken. Caleb reached for his phone. No signal, of course. He knew there was a spot about 5 minutes back where calls sometimes went through. He'd used it before, but that meant carrying her. Ari, remember last time when we saw those orange butterflies by the Turtle Rock, where you called Uncle Marcus about the baseball game? That spot. We're going back there. He looked at Tessa. I'm going to carry you. It's not far. You don't have to. I can try to crawl, or no, you can't. Caleb was already shrugging off his backpack and handing it to Ariana. Sweetheart, can you be my special helper and carry this? I'm super strong, Daddy. Yesterday I carried all my books from the car all by myself. Caleb carefully helped Tessa to 1 foot, then lifted her into a fireman's carry. She weighed less than some equipment he hauled at job sites, but she still gasped in pain. You okay? He asked. Just keep going, she breathed. They moved slowly toward the trail, Ariana leading like a tiny wilderness guide, calling back warnings. There's a route here, Daddy. Watch the slippery rock. Your daughter's amazing, Tessa murmured against his shoulder. She has her moments, Caleb said, pride slipping into his voice. Ari, how are we doing up there? Good, Daddy. I can see the Turtle Rock. It really looks like a turtle, doesn't it, Miss Tessa? I named it Franklin like the turtle in my book. Franklin's a perfect name, Tessa managed, though Caleb felt her tense with each step. When they reached the clearing with cell service, he gently lowered Tessa against the turtle-shaped boulder. His hands came away bloody, and he wiped them on his jeans before Ariana could notice. The 911 call was quick and efficient. The dispatcher confirmed their location and promised a rescue team within 45 minutes. Caleb reported Tessa's injuries, the assault, the theft, and then they waited. Ariana, never one for quiet or stillness, immediately appointed herself Tessa's chief distraction officer. Do you want to see what I made? She asked, carefully pulling a folded piece of paper from her front pocket. I drew these for. She paused and glanced at her father. It's okay, sweetheart, Caleb said softly. I drew these for my mummy. Purple was her favorite color. She used to paint pictures of flowers just like these. Tessa's eyes shifted to Caleb, a silent question forming. We come here every few months, he said simply. To remember, she's in heaven now, Ariana added the way children do when they've taken something huge and made it just small enough to carry. She got sick when I was 3, but Daddy says she still sees my pictures because love doesn't need eyes. Oh, sweetheart, Tessa whispered, and Caleb couldn't tell if her tears were from pain or something else. I'm interrupting your memorial visit, Tessa said quietly. I'm so sorry. Don't, Caleb cut in. Celeste would have been the first to help. She always said these woods were about life, not just memory. Tessa's breathing had steadied, though Caleb saw her pressing the jacket harder against her shoulder. Your mummy sounds wonderful, she said. Ariana scooted closer, studying Tessa with those intense, observant child eyes that miss nothing. Does your shoulder hurt really bad? It's okay. You don't have to pretend. Daddy says it's okay to say when things hurt. He cried when Mummy went to heaven. He cried a lot. Caleb's throat tightened. He hadn't known she remembered that. Want to know a secret? Ariana whispered conspiratorially. Sometimes I still talk to Mummy, especially when I'm scared, or when something really good happens. Like when I lost my first tooth, I told her all about it. That's not a secret, baby. That's just love, Caleb said gently. Voices approached. All 3 of them looked up. The rescue team had arrived earlier than expected. 2 paramedics with a stretcher and a full medical kit. They moved with smooth, practiced efficiency, cleaning and dressing Tessa's shoulder wound and immobilizing her ankle. The men who did this, one paramedic asked while preparing an IV. Did you get a good look at them? Everything happened so fast, Tessa admitted. But they took my camera back. It had all my equipment, my laptop, everything. I'm a freelance photographer. That bag was my entire livelihood. We'll make sure the police get a full report, the paramedic assured her. As they prepared to carry her out, Tessa reached for Caleb's hand. Thank you, both of you. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't come along. You would have been okay, Ariana said with the unshakable confidence only kids have. But now, you'll be okay faster. The doctors will fix you right up. They're good at fixing people. They tried really hard to fix my mummy. The weight of her innocent honesty hung in the air for a moment. Take care, Caleb said quietly, squeezing Tessa's hand once before letting go. Will we see you again? Ariana asked. Tessa looked at both of them, this father and daughter grieving together, yet still saving strangers, and something shifted in her expression. I hope so, she said. I really hope so. The letter arrived 7 weeks later, on a Thursday that had started like any other. Caleb almost missed it among the bills and ads, but Ariana spotted the handwritten address. Daddy, look, someone wrote us a real letter. Nobody writes real letters except Grandma. Caleb opened it carefully, Ariana bouncing beside him with curiosity. Dear Caleb and Ariana, I've started this letter 12 times, trying to find the right words to thank you both. The doctors said that if I'd been out there much longer, the wound could have become dangerously infected. The blood loss alone. Well, let's just say your rescue was more critical than any of us realized that day. I know this might seem forward, but I'd really like to buy you both lunch. I'm finally walking without crutches, just a small brace, now, and I have something for Ariana. With Saturday work, with gratitude. Tessa QUINNPS. They caught the men who robbed me. My equipment was recovered from a pawn shop 2 towns over. She wants to see us again, Ariana squealed. Can we go, Daddy? Please. Caleb looked at his daughter's excited face. They'd talked about Tessa a few times since the rescue. Ariana, wondering if her shoulder had healed, if she was walking yet, if she was still taking pictures of birds. Sure, sweetheart, we can do that. The restaurant Tessa suggested was family-friendly, complete with crayons and paper plates. She was already there when they arrived, standing to greet them, favoring her right foot only slightly. The angry paleness from before was gone, replaced with healthy color and a warm, genuine smile. Ariana, she said, pulling out a wrapped package. This is for you. Ariana unwrapped it with the careful, almost ceremonial slowness of a child who's been taught to save the wrapping paper. Inside was a professional sketchbook and a set of colored pencils, real ones, the kind Caleb recognized as expensive, the kind actual artists used. Open it, Tessa encouraged. On the first page, in beautiful calligraphy, she had written, for a brave girl who helps people and makes beautiful pictures for her mommy. May you always see the world through eyes of wonder. Love, Tessa. It's perfect, Ariana breathed, immediately pulling out a purple pencil. Look, Daddy, It's the fancy kind, the kind that blend. You didn't have to, Caleb began. I wanted to, Tessa said firmly. Besides, a little bird told me someone likes to draw. Lunch stretched into 2 hours, while Ariana tested every single pencil, creating a rainbow garden on her placemat. Tessa told them about her recovery. 3 surgeries on the ankle, she admitted. It was worse than we thought at first, but I'm getting around fine now. Physical therapy twice a week. That must have been expensive, Caleb said. Knowing all too well how medical bills could grow, insurance covered most of it, and once they caught those men, there was victims' compensation. She paused, watching Ariana blend yellow into orange with complete concentration. And honestly, meeting you to that day changed something for me. What do you mean? Caleb asked. Tessa twisted her water glass, searching for the right words. I moved to Oregon to escape. My fiancé died in a climbing accident 2 years ago. I thought if I just kept moving, kept working, stayed alone in the wilderness with my camera, I wouldn't have to feel it anymore. But then you and Ariana saved me. And while I was in that hospital bed, I kept thinking about what Ariana said, about how her mommy liked helping people, about how being kind is never a waste of time, about a little girl who brings purple flowers to the forest and a father who stops everything to rescue a stranger. We did what anyone would know. Tessa cut in gently. You didn't, she swallowed. There were 2 hikers who passed my campsite earlier that day. They heard me calling, and they kept going. Caleb felt anger flare hot in his chest. They just left you there. People get scared, she said softly. Or they think someone else will help. Or they just don't want to get involved. She looked at Ariana, who was now drawing what looked like a butterfly. But you too got involved, and it made me realize I'd been walking past my own life for 2 years. Miss Tessa, do you like butterflies? Ariana asked suddenly, holding up her drawing. I love them, actually, Tessa added. I'm working on a project photographing the monarch migration. Really, Daddy, did you hear that? She photographs butterflies. Ariana turned to Tessa, eyes shining. Mummy loved butterflies too. She painted them all the time. We have one in our living room. It's huge and orange and looks like it's flying right off the wall. I'd love to see that sometime. She caught herself glancing at Caleb. I mean, if you're comfortable. Caleb found himself nodding without overthinking it. Sure, maybe you could show Ariana some of your butterfly photos. Yes, Ariana bounced in her seat. Can you teach me how to take pictures? Real ones, with a camera. I'd like that, Tessa said softly. I'd like that very much. What started as one thank you lunch slowly became something else. Tessa would show up at the coffee shop where Caleb grabbed his morning caffeine after dropping Ariana at school. Total coincidence, she'd say with a teasing smile. I was just editing photos and needed better Wi-Fi. She began joining them on their easier hikes, not the memorial ones. Caleb wasn't ready for that, but the Saturday adventures where Ariana collected rocks and leaves and asked 1,000 curious questions. See how the light comes through the wings? Tessa showed Ariana the butterfly on her camera's screen. If you position yourself just right, the butterfly looks like stained glass, like the windows at church. Can I try? Caleb watched them together, Tessa's patience endless as she helped Ariana hold the heavy camera, teaching her about angles and light, and something inside him loosened, something that had been wound tight for 3 years. The first time Tessa joined them for dinner, it happened out of practicality more than anything else. She had been teaching Ariana photography at the park, and it had gotten late. You might as well stay. It's just spaghetti, nothing fancy. Daddy makes the best spaghetti, Ariana announced proudly. He puts secret ingredients in it. It's not secret, baby. It's just extra garlic and a little sugar to cut the acidity. But Tessa stayed, and somehow it felt natural. She helped Ariana set the table while Caleb cooked, listened to Ariana's dramatic retelling of the classroom hamster's escape attempt, and laughed at all the right moments. This is nice, Tessa said quietly while Ariana was in the bathroom. Thank you for letting me, for including me. Thank you for being so good with her. She hasn't connected with anyone like this since Celestia. 4 months after the rescue, Ariana got the flu. Nothing serious, but enough to keep her home from school for 3 days, miserable and cranky. Caleb had already missed 2 days of work when an emergency call came in, a power outage at the hospital that required all hands. He was about to call his brother when his phone rang. Tessa, I heard Ari's sick, she said. Marcus mentioned it when I ran into him at the store. Can I help? I couldn't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm offering. I can work on my photos anywhere. and someone needs to make sure she stays hydrated and rested. An hour later, Tessa arrived with homemade chicken soup, popsicles, and a stack of nature photography books. Miss Tessa, Ariana croaked from her blanket cocoon on the couch. I'm sick, I heard. That's why I brought butterfly books. We can look at pictures while you rest. When Caleb came home 6 hours later exhausted, covered in dust from crawling through the hospital's ventilation system, he found them on the couch. Ariana was curled up against Tessa's side, both of them looking at Tessa's laptop. We're making a book for Mommy, Ariana announced, her voice raspy, with pictures of all my favorite flowers. Miss Tessa's helping me write the words. Caleb moved closer, looking at the screen. They'd created a digital photo album, lupins, wild roses, Indian paintbrushes with a caption written in Ariana's simple, heartfelt sentences. Mommy would love these because they're purple like her favorite dress. These roses smell like happiness. Daddy says Mommy painted these ones best. His throat tightened. This is beautiful, sweetheart. Miss Tessa said we could print it and leave it at Mommy's special place. Is that okay? That's perfect, baby. After Ariana fell asleep, Caleb walked Tessa to her car. Thank you, he said, not just for today, for all of it, for being so careful with her, for respecting Celeste's memory, for not trying to be something you're not. Tessa looked up at him in the fading light. What am I trying to be? Yourself. Tessa, and that's exactly what we needed. She reached up and touched his cheek gently. You saved me that day in more ways than you know. I think you might be saving us, too, he admitted. They stood there for a moment, the space between them charged with possibility. Then Tessa stepped back. Ariana needs medicine again at 8, she said softly. Don't forget. I won't forget. But as she drove away, Caleb realized he wasn't thinking about medicine schedules. He was thinking about the way she had held his daughter, the way the house had felt full again, and the way his heart had started beating a rhythm he thought was gone forever. 8 months after the rescue, everything changed with one simple bedtime question. Daddy, are you going to marry Miss Tessa? Caleb nearly dropped the book he was reading. Why would you ask that, sweetheart? Ariana gave him that serious 6-year-old stare that always seemed a little too wise. Because you smile different when she's around, like in the old pictures with Mommy, and Miss Tessa looks at you like you're her hero, which you are, 'cause you saved her life, and she makes really good soup. Those are all very astute observations, Caleb said carefully, choosing a big word to buy himself time. How would you feel about that? Hypothetically. What's hypothetically mean? It means pretend, like, if it were to happen. Ariana considered this very seriously, hugging her stuffed bunny close. Would she live with us? That's usually how marriage works. Yes. Would she still teach me photography? I imagine so. Would we still visit Mommy's special place? Always, baby. Nothing would ever change that. Ariana was quiet for a long moment. Caleb could practically see the gears turning in her small, earnest mind. Finally, she spoke. I think Mommy would say it's okay. She wouldn't want us to be lonely forever. And Miss Tessa isn't trying to be my new mommy. She's trying to be Miss Tessa. And that's good, 'cause we already have a mummy in heaven. So maybe, she paused, inventing a concept in real time, maybe she could be my bonus mom, like bonus points in a game. Except it's a person who loves you extra. Bonus mom, Caleb repeated, amazed at his daughter's ability to create exactly the right words for impossible situations. Yeah, it means extra special, not replacement. Like how we got a bonus day off school for snow, and it didn't replace regular days. It was just extra good. You're pretty smart, you know that. I know, Ariana said So, are you going to ask her? The question haunted Caleb for weeks. He found himself watching Tessa with new eyes the way she automatically knew to cut Ariana's sandwiches diagonally, not straight. The way she kept purple pencils in her bag just in case Ariana wanted to draw. The way she'd learned their rhythms, their traditions, their careful dance around grief without ever stepping on the sacred places. You're thinking very loudly, Tessa said one evening. They were sitting on his porch while Ariana played in the yard, catching fireflies in a jar she'd decorated with glow-in-the-dark stickers. You've been different lately. Since Ari was sick, did I overstep somehow? No, you've been perfect. That's actually the key. Stopped. Never mind, what? She asked gently. He turned to her fully. Can I ask you something? Always. Why us? You could have just sent a thank you card and moved on. Why did you keep coming back? Tessa watched Ariana running through the grass, her laughter bright in the dimming light. My fiancé James, when he died, everyone told me I'd find love again. that time heals all wounds, that someone else would come along. She paused. I hated them for saying it. I didn't want someone else. I wanted James. Caleb nodded. He understood that feeling intimately. But then I met you too. And you didn't try to fix me or tell me everything happens for a reason, or any of that nonsense. You just let me be. Broken ankle, broken heart and all. She smiled softly. And Ariana, she looked at me and saw Miss Tessa who takes pictures, not tragic Tessa who lost everything. She has a way of doing that, Caleb said. She gets it from her dad. Tessa turned to him. You saved me that day, but not just from dying on that mountain. You saved me from disappearing into my grief. And somehow, without trying, you both made room for me in your lives, without asking me to be anything but myself. I love you. Caleb said the words, escaping before he could stop them. I didn't mean to. I wasn't looking for it, but I do. I love you, too. Both of you. So much. It terrifies me. Why does it terrify you? Because I know what it's like to lose everything, and so do you. Caleb took her hand. But we also know what it's like to find something worth the risk. Daddy. Miss Tessa Luke. Ariana ran up, her jar glowing with captured fireflies. I got 7. That's the most ever. That's amazing, sweetheart. What are you going to do with them? Let them go, silly. They're not meant to live in jars. They're meant to fly and light up the dark. She opened the jar, and they watched the fireflies scatter into the night, tiny beacons of hope against the darkness. Out of the mouths of babes, as Tessa whispered. The proposal came 2 months later, at the spot where everything had begun. Caleb had conspired with Ariana to lead Tessa there during one of their photography walks. I want to show Miss Tessa the exact spot where we found her. Ariana had said that morning, playing her part perfectly, for her photo project about full circles or whatever. Full circle narratives, Tessa corrected with a laugh. And that's actually a beautiful idea, Ari. The October day was crisp and perfect, the kind of autumn morning where the light turns everything golden. They hiked the familiar trail, Ariana chattering about school, her best friend Lucy's new puppy, about everything and nothing. When they reached the cedar tree where they'd found Tessa, Ariana suddenly got very quiet. This is it, she said solemnly. This is where everything changed. Tessa looked around, and Caleb saw her reliving that depth of fear, the pain, the relief when they had appeared. You know what Duffy says, Ariana continued. He says sometimes the worst things that happen to us lead to the best things. Like how Mommy getting sick was the worst thing, but it taught us how strong love is. And how you getting hurt was scary, but it brought us to you. She handed Tessa a small box wrapped in purple paper. Ari, what? Open it. Ariana was practically vibrating with excitement. Inside was a silver necklace with 3 charms, a butterfly, a camera, and a heart. The butterfly is for Mommy because she's always with us. The camera is for you because you help us see beautiful things, and the heart is for all of us together. Tessa's hand shook as she lifted the necklace. Ari, there's more, Caleb said, dropping to one knee. Tessa gasped, one hand flying to her mouth. Tessa Quinn, Caleb began, pulling out a ring box. 9 months ago, you crashed into our lives literally and somehow made everything make sense again. You didn't try to fill the hole Celeste left. Instead, you showed us our hearts could expand, that love multiplies rather than replaces. You taught Ariana that joy can exist alongside grief. You taught me that moving forward doesn't mean forgetting. You've become part of our traditions while creating new ones. You've honored our past while giving us a future. Will you be my bonus mom? Ariana interrupted, too excited to let her dad finish. I invented that term myself. It means extra special family, not replacement family. Through tears and laughter, Tessa dropped to her knees to face them both. Yes, she whispered, then louder. Yes, to both questions. Yes, to everything. Ariana threw herself at Tessa while Caleb slipped the ring onto her finger, a simple solitaire that caught the light filtering through the trees. Can I tell Lucy tomorrow? She said you and Daddy were going to get married, and I said maybe, and she said definitely. And now I can say she was right. You can tell whoever you want. Sweetheart, Tessa laughed, holding her close. Even Mrs. Patterson at school, she always asks about you. Even Mrs. Patterson. As they walked back down the trail, Ariana between them holding both of their hands, Caleb felt something settle in his chest. Not the sharp grief he'd carried for 3 years, not the guilt he'd expected to feel, but peace. Actual peace. You know what's crazy, Tessa said softly. If those men hadn't robbed me, if I hadn't fallen, if you hadn't taken this specific trail on this specific day, Mommy would say, there's no such thing as accidents. Ariana said. She said everything happens exactly when it's supposed to, even if we don't understand why at the time. Tessa squeezed Caleb's hand over their daughter's head. Their daughter, because that's what Ariana had become to her. Your mommy was very wise. The wisest, that's why she sent us to you. The wedding took place the following spring in a meadow not far from Celeste's memorial spot. It was small, just family and close friends, but perfect. Ariana took her flower girl duties seriously, distributing purple lupin petals with the precision of a scientist. She explained to anyone who would listen, the petals need proper spacing for optimal visual impact. Caleb's brother Marcus stood as best man, still amazed by the journey that had brought them here. When you called me that day about finding an injured hiker, I never imagined I'd be standing here now. But watching you three together, it's like you were always meant to be a family. In her vows, Tessa spoke directly to Ariana first. Ariana, my sweet bonus daughter, you taught me that love doesn't have limits, that families can form in the most unexpected ways. I promise to honor your mother's memory, to help you keep her alive in your hearts, and to love you with everything I have, while never trying to be anything other than your Tessa. Then to Caleb, you saved my life, but more than that, you saved my soul. You showed me that grief and joy can coexist, that moving forward isn't betrayal, that love isn't finite. I promise to stand beside you, to help carry your memories while we make new ones, to be your partner in all things. Caleb's vows were simpler, but no less powerful. Tessa, you entered our lives when we thought our family was complete in its brokenness. You didn't try to fix us. You just loved us exactly as we were. You've shown us that love isn't about replacing what was lost, but about having the courage to add new chapters. I promise to love you, to protect you, to make you laugh, and to never take for granted the miracle that brought you to that trail on that specific day. And I promise, Ariana added, loudly, making everyone laugh and cry at the same time, to teach you all my mom's favorite songs, and to share my purple pencils, and to always be your bonus daughter. When Caleb kissed Tessa, Ariana tugged on their clothes until they pulled her into a three-way hug, the crowd laughing and crying simultaneously. During the reception, while Ariana showed off her photography skills with Tessa's camera, capturing candid moments of joy, Caleb found himself standing beside Celeste's memorial stone. They'd stopped there before the ceremony, just the three of them, leaving Ariana's latest drawing and a photo from the engagement. Thank you, he whispered to the stone, to the sky, to wherever Celeste might be. Thank you for sending her to us. A butterfly, orange and black, impossible to miss, landed on the stone at that very moment. Wings spread wide in the afternoon sun, it stayed for a long moment, then flew directly to where Tessa and Ariana were laughing, circled them once, and disappeared into the tree line. Daddy, Ariana called, come see, I got the perfect shot. He joined his girls, his wife and daughter, and looked at the camera screen. Ariana had captured Tessa mid-laugh, head thrown back, joy radiating from every line of her body. But what made the photo extraordinary was the butterfly, perfectly in frame, seeming to dance above Tessa's head like a blessing. It's perfect, baby, he said, pulling them both close. We should print it for our new family wall, Ariana declared, right next to Mommy's paintings and Tessa's bird pictures. The family wall. They'd talked about it while planning how to blend their lives, not replacing Celeste's artwork, but adding to it, creating layers of love and memory and hope. 1 year later, that wall told their whole story. Celeste's paintings of the forest, capturing light and life with an artist's eye. Tessa's photographs of their adventures. Ariana's first successful butterfly photos, slightly blurry, but perfect. Caleb carrying Ariana through a stream, the three of them silhouetted against a sunset dot, and in the center, Ariana's drawings, evolving from simple purple flowers to complex scenes. Her latest showed 3 figures walking a forest trail, with a 4th figure made of light and butterflies watching over them, all surrounded by purple flowers that seemed to glow with their own internal light. Tell me the story again, Ariana requested one evening, curled between Caleb and Tessa on the couch. Which story, sweetheart? Tessa asked, though she already knew, the story of how we became a family. Caleb started, as he always did. Well, one day, Daddy and his best girl were walking in the forest to visit Mummy, Ariana added. To visit Mummy, he agreed, when we heard someone calling for help and Daddy became a hero, Ariana interrupted. We all became heroes, Tessa corrected gently. Even you, my brave girl, helping a scared stranger feel safe. And then you kept coming back, Ariana continued the familiar narrative. And you taught me photography and made soup when I was sick and became my bonus mom. And now we're a family. Now we're a family, Caleb confirmed, kissing the top of Ariana's head. Later, Caleb and Tessa stood in front of the family wall, fingers interlaced. Do you ever think about how different life would be if those men hadn't robbed you that day? Caleb asked. Every day, I'd probably still be hiding in the wilderness, taking pictures of things instead of living. And we'd still be stuck, not moving backward, but not moving forward either, just suspended. But now we're living. Celeste always said the point of life was to keep adding chapters, not to stop reading when one ends. She sounds like she was wonderful. She was, and so are you. Different kinds of wonderful, but both exactly what this family needed when we needed it. The local newspaper eventually picked up their story, running it with the headline, From Rescue to Romance, How a Trail Emergency Created a Family. But for Caleb, Tessa, and Ariana, the headline missed the point. It wasn't just about rescue or romance. It was about the courage to help a stranger when you're carrying your own grief. It was about a child's wisdom in creating new words for impossible situations. It was about learning that love isn't a pie with limited slices, but something that grows with every person you let into your heart. It was about purple flowers for remembrance, cameras for capturing new memories, and butterflies that appear at exactly the right moment to remind you that some things are too perfect to be coincidence. Most of all, it was about discovering that sometimes the universe has perfect timing even when, especially when, that timing seems impossibly cruel at first, because sometimes you have to be broken in exactly the right way to let the light in. And sometimes that light comes in the form of a stranger, bleeding on a trailhead who becomes the love you never saw coming down. 3 types of art tell their story. Celeste's paintings that captured the forest's eternal beauty, Tessa's photographs that froze moments of joy in time, and Ariana's evolving artwork told the story of a family that was both remembering and becoming held together by purple flowers, golden light, and a kind of love that defied loss, time, and every logical explanation. A single dad and his little girl really had found a dying stranger on a trail. What they did next didn't just save her life, they saved each other, building a family that honored what came before while embracing everything still ahead. It proved that the best love stories aren't always about finding your other half, but realizing your heart is big enough to hold more than one kind of love. If this story reminded you that beauty can rise from broken places, that families form in the most unexpected ways, and that helping someone else can be the first step in helping yourself, please subscribe and share, because someone out there needs to know that their next chapter might begin with the very thing that feels like an ending. Love doesn't divide, it multiplies. And sometimes it arrives on a forest trail when you're not looking for it, carried by a 6-year-old holding purple flowers and a father brave enough to answer a call for help. That's the thing about love. It rarely shows up the way we imagine, but when it does, if we're brave enough to see it, patient enough to grow it, and wise enough to know that new love never erases old love, we might just find ourselves living a story worth telling, a story where rescue became romance, tragedy led to triumph, and 3 broken hearts mended one another in the most beautiful way possible. The end, or rather, the beginning of everything that came next.